Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto was female Orochimaru's target, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Hiruzen had never been apathetic to her smile. When she were young, it filled him with a fatherly instinct and a mentor's pride. Once matured, it lit the spark of desire within him, but as their relationship dissolved, the cruelty behind it left him cold, regretful and mourning the loss of the innocent student he once knew. Now, it fills him with a hatred hotter than any kaiten jutsu known to man. He wants nothing more than to strangle the very life from her and then send her soul to the Shinigami for a light snack. What do you want? He asked, acid lacing every word. Kakuku, you seem to ask that a lot, sensei. She replied and was not wrong. He needed to know what her plot was, what her endgame was so he could stop it. He'd protect Konoha from her even with his last breath. Well, he bit back. Oh, nothing, just checking in. How's Asuma? He seemed really upset when we returned. Oh, she loved to twist the knife, Hiruzen thought. She was so very pleased with herself. Do you enjoy this? I've worked hard to mend my relationship with Asuma and you tear it down for your own amusement. Not just my amusement, that was a byproduct. Besides, you only have yourself to blame. I bet you used the same tired excuses you used on me. I have so many demands on my time. My shinobi need me, the civilians need me, and while I love them, even my family makes demands of me. I just need something for myself, just time to be Hiruzen. She said with a laugh. Hiruzen flinched as that had been exactly what he said to Asuma. He wanted his son to understand the pressures of being Hokage, of being subsumed by the responsibilities of the office. Asuma thought it was bullshit. You know it's a lie, right? Apparently, so does she. You could have just retired, any one of us were ready to take the mantle. You chose to hang on to power until after the Third Shinobi War. You were so in love with being the Hokage, the god of shinobi, that you couldn't make room for anyone else. That's the truth of the matter. I won't debate this with you. And if I have to suffer your vile presence, it should be for a reason. Now what do you want? I heard you lost us the privilege to wear the Uzumaki symbol. Is that true? Oh, she's just aiming for all the soft spots today. You know it is. He's your student. Hi. But he went to sleep instantly upon his return, so we haven't had a chance to speak. Any ideas for a replacement? Maybe you could make it a contest, village-wide. To emphasize my blunder even more. Yes. Now, you're getting it. She said with genuine enthusiasm. What do you want? Where does this all end? I won't let you hurt Konoha. Kakuku, why would I want to hurt Konoha? I live here, I wouldn't burn my own house down just to spite you. I don't believe that for a second. Hiruzen said dryly. Okay, maybe I would, but I'm not. That has to count for something, right, sensei? The poets will write epics about your magnanimity. Then I have truly lived a full and happy life. Once again, Orochimaru, what do you want? To tell you my Otonins have cleared the last of Danzo's known root bases. Can't say they killed them all, but they got most of them. Good. If that is all, you may leave. Hiruzen said and sighed when she complied. It took a great deal of his discipline not to strike down the woman when he laid eyes on her, to so casually upend all the work Asuma and he had done to fix their relationship, and simply out of spite, to further hurt him. He knew she hated him and it was justified to an extent, but when would enough be enough? He could contain her to the village, watch her every moment, but until he had a firm idea of what she truly wanted, he couldn't get ahead of her. He was stuck reacting to her moves and didn't know how to change the position. Orochimaru left with a smile on her face. People underestimate the power of petty revenge. And with each slight she was confident the old monkey would continue to think she had some grand scheme with him in mind, when truthfully, there was only one target of her machinations, and it'd be a few years still before she could fully act on them. Thinking about him led her to considering the Rasa issue. She could kill him in open combat, no problem. It'd literally be no problem at all, but assassinating him is something a little different. She couldn't just send a snake to poison him or sink her kusanagi into his heart. She realized being an S-ranked missing nin has left her assassination skills rusty, as far as the hiding all traces you were the culprit part. She hasn't cared if someone knew she killed a target in years. Funny that. Time. was on her side, and because she knew Rasa a little she could make some assumptions. The most obvious being he likely has the information set the release upon his death but wouldn't place the copies somewhere too far out of his control. He trusted no one and essentially only tolerated Baki because the man was powerful and could keep Gaara on the leash. That'd have to be accounted for, but she'd tasked Jiraiya with it. He wouldn't keep his hands clean on this just in case he was trying to set her up. Granted, she had plans to implicate or outright kill him if he double-crossed her, but she was aware enough to realize the likelihood of needing these contingencies were slim. Jiraiya wasn't the fool he let others believe him to be. He was as hardened as any other war veteran, but he'd play it straight when it came to Naruto. Him staying away from Naruto wasn't entirely of his choosing. Her spies had sussed that out, not that she'd acknowledge it. Why give up some emotional blackmail just because it isn't true? That's absurd. Clearing her mind of her digression, she went back to the how. He had guards, so she'd need to find out how loyal and diligent they were to his well-being. That might be an in. She might be able to seduce him, even if she found it repugnant. Not seduction in general, but Rasa struck her as crimaxer and she didn't need nor want to deal with that. Or he'd just be really bad because he thought too highly of himself and would need constant reassurance that he was good or big or something else. Not worth the effort or the nice pair of panties she'd waste on the night. She chuckled to herself as she continued home. She still had time, so she'd think of something. The trio looked onto their singular enemy with exasperation. They'd thrown everything they could at him and nothing has worked. Their best formations, their most practiced attacks all failed to even graze him. It was a level beyond frustrating, and the feeling of fatigue they all shared only increased the negative emotions. Taking a steadying breath, the leader charged forth with his quarterstaff. A sweep to the legs was avoided with a mere hop. The following swipe to the ribs was dodged with an easy rotation. Not satisfied with just being on defense, the opponent sent a kick to the staff wielder that pushed him off balance. The other two of the trio finally re-engaged, having gained enough energy for a final onslaught. The smallest came with her sword. A textbook dual-handed overhead strike meant for the shoulder caused the target of the attack to jump sideways to avoid it. Said target then had to deflect a series of shuriken that was thrown by the third, the last member willing to play support. Not giving him any breathing room, the Kenjutsu user continued to press the attack, downward, upward and horizontal slashes all just missing. Each missed attack draining even more stamina, causing unsteady legs to shake under the strain. The Bojutsu user returned to the fray with a desperation-fueled ferocity he hadn't shown. The lone defender parried and dodged their attacks but never forgot about the third member lying in wait, and his patience was soon rewarded as said member decided to join in on the attack. He decided it was time to end this. As soon as the third was within striking distance, he swiftly relieved the Bojutsu user of his quarterstaff and downed him with a palm strike. Without an instance of hesitation he threw the staff toward the other two opponents, the support ninja making the mistake of catching it as it left him open for the aerial assault of his opponent. Two kicks, delivered with a spin, felled the boy and he was down for the count. In an impressive display of acrobatics, the attacker landed on his back and immediately kicking up as to not give his final enemy even a hint of an opening. Seeing she was alone, tired and outmatched, she laid her sword down in defeat and was immediately greeted with a smile and him rubbing her head. She broke out into a blush but slapped his hand away. Don't do that. Ah, why not, Mogi-chan? You did really well, you all did. Groans is all Naruto got in response. You're too good, boss. We can't hit you, Konohamaru complained. It's not that, I'm moving just a bit beyond you guys' speed. You just have to get a little more creative with your tactics. A direct assault can be useful, especially when collectively you have the superior skills, but when you're outmatched you have to find or create your own advantages and then exploit it. He said before looking to Udon. You abandoned the support role too fast, Udon. It's a good impulse to want to protect your team, but protection can take many forms. Had you continued to pepper me with shuriken, it might have created an opening for Kon or Mogi. You need to get familiar with how they fight so you can guide opponents to where they'd be most vulnerable. Naruto explained and saw Udon look down in shame or silent recrimination. However, you're on your way there. Early on, when they needed a break or some space, you made it for them and you're good at letting them know what you're thinking. Once you start picking up some tactics and strategy in the academy, you'll be even better. And your shurikenjutsu is well trained for your age. Naruto finished and saw the boy smile brightly. Mogi-chan, what's the most important thing to a swordsman or woman as the case may be? Breathing. If you can control your breathing, you can avoid tension in your muscles. Tension slows down reaction time and robs the strikes of speed and power. Good. What's the second? Legs. They have to be strong and swift, steady and nimble. Exactly. Once you were getting tired, your breathing control was shot and your legs were unsteady. When that happens, you have to switch things up. It takes dedication to learn kenjutsu, but you aren't a samurai, that isn't all you'll be using. He said, and she nodded, taking the criticism a little better than udon. But you are improving and you'll be ready to learn a style outside of the basics soon. Con. Good staff work. Speed and control are all acceptable, but you need to control your emotions. The moment you got frustrated, you started telegraphing your moves. If the other two are following your lead, then you'll make them predictable, too. Predictable is the one thing you don't want to be. Hi. With that being said, you guys are getting better now here. Naruto unsealed some canteens of water and some orange slices. Have a snack and some water. I have to meet my Shushu soon. The trio did as told and chatted away about the academy and other events. Konohamaru begged Naruto to teach them some awesome jutsu, and he promised to show them something next time, something small to get them started. He started to depart when he saw Ebisu arrive. He gave the man a nod in acknowledgement and departed, glad he got to spend some time with the brats as he hadn't seen them in a while. Uzumaki-san was right in his review. You'd all do well to heed his advice. Ebisu said. Yay, boss is cool. He's even a chunin now. Konohamaru said, excitedly, and the other two nodded in agreement. Yes, quite cool. Now, are you three too tired for more training? No. They responded. Good. Then let's practice our chakra control. Ebisu said and fought back the urge to laugh at their facial reactions. I know for a fact that Uzumaki-san practices his chakra control constantly, and it's one of the reasons he's considered an up-and-coming ninjutsu specialist. The better control you have, the more you can do with your chakra. Fine. Konohamaru huffed out in defeat. Good. Grab some leaves. While training with the Kon and the gang is always fun, Naruto had to get to his training, and his Shushu didn't appear to be holding back today. His various pained grunts would be a clear sign of that. The goal was teaching him how to handle opponents faster than him by increasing his reaction time and sharpening his awareness. Ugh. He was having mixed results. Get up, Naruto-kun, I barely tapped you. I think we both know that's not true. Naruto said, picking himself up off the ground. Kikuku, okay. But you're so durable. All my other training dummies break. I'm really feeling the love here, Shushu. Naruto replied, deadpan. That comes when you're older, I do have standards. Orochimaru shot back before going on the attack again. It was only the slimmest of margins that would allow him to avoid her strikes, a brief sound or the change in the wind. It wasn't a lot, and sometimes he was doing little more than guessing. He ducked and felt her leg brush the top of his head. He rolled forward, making her leg sweep useless. Not thinking, he performed a mule kick that connected with her arms, but it made her pause for a moment, long enough for Naruto to go on the attack. Using the surface walking technique, Naruto clung to her forearm, and immediately twisted, bring his other leg up for another kick. She blocked it with ease and pulsed her chakra to dislodge her student. Naruto didn't let the loss of leverage deter him as he sent a punch to her face, but she evaded it without effort and tossed the red-haired Uzumaki away as she still had a hold of his leg. Naruto righted himself mid-air but had to go into evasion mode again as she began to attack relentlessly. Even with his enhanced stamina, being forced to fight above his level drained Naruto, and he was getting slower but not sloppy, his time with the Panthers teaching him how to hold himself even when fatigued. It didn't stop him from getting picked apart as she pot-shotted Naruto until he hit the ground, breathing heavily. Okay, that's enough of that. Good. I don't think there was anywhere left on my body for you to hit me. Better I do it than an enemy, Naruto-kun. Besides, you are improving. As expected, she said with a glint in her eyes. Why? Please don't make me say it. We had a deal, and from my understanding Naruto Uzumaki doesn't go back on his word. Why couldn't my Nindo be? I'd eat as much ramen as I can. Stupid me. Stop stalling. Fine. I'm improving because you, Shushu-sama, are the world's greatest kunoichi/genius and the best of the Sannin. See, that wasn't so hard. Now, how is everything else coming along? You having your clones train with the Kiri swords? 2 of them. Same Hada still won't accept me yet, and I'm not going to be a meal for a sword. And the Kubakiri, Zabu's sword is all wrong for my frame. Even the name is a mouthful. Kubakiri Bocho. Would you look at that? Guess I can handle a mouthful. Kakuku, future reference. Orochimaru said with a wink, causing Naruto to blush slightly at her innuendo. I'd recommend coming to an accord with Same Hada, it's too useful not to. Now, how about your ninjutsu? Anything new? Maybe a few developments. I wanted to have something definitive before I came to you. So, you know how we've been making plans for any pair of the Akatsuki that I may run into. Yes, you seemed confident you had workable plans for Kakazu and Hidden, but thought Sasori and Deidara would give you and your team problems. Yay. I may have the Sasori part figured out even if he's a nightmare for Kurenai-sensei, Shino and Shika. But Deidara was the hardest for me to plan for, given he's a long-distance threat and his natural counter is my worst element. Naruto said and saw her nod. Making a long-distance Raiten jutsu is difficult and inefficient. That's the general consensus. Are you about to show me something different? She asked in excitement. Yep. Watch. Naruto said before performing a lightning-style, lightning beast running jutsu and saw the standard-looking Raiten peter out at 10 meters. Orochimaru didn't look confused nor disappointed, as she knew her student wouldn't waste her time, so she waited patiently for Naruto to continue his demonstration. Naruto then ran through the same hand signs and performed the jutsu again, except this time the beast was red and didn't give out until it was 25 meters away. Red lightning. I wonder if it's similar to Kumo's black lightning. I don't know. From my understanding, the black lightning is more powerful than standard Raiten techniques. The red lightning isn't really more powerful, but it can travel further distances and something else. What? In response, Naruto threw 4 kunai that were 15 meters apart and then performed another red lightning jutsu, aimed at the center kunai. To Orochimaru's surprise, the jutsu split off and hit the other kunai once it made contact. I called that my chained lightning jutsu. Whereas a normal lightning technique is easy to avoid if you're not the intended target, the red lightning seeks other conductors. Best thing. Chakra sources fall into that category. Lost a lot of clones to that one. Could it be made to hone in on a specific target? If I were more of a sensor? Possibly. Not having much luck with Karen-chan's technique. She inquired. No, there's a block. I feel like I'm right there, but until it's resolved I won't make much progress with it. Keep at it, you'll figure something out, but even now you continue to impress me. I'd suggest developing a focused piercing attack to go along with your wide area effect one. Orochimaru said after a moment of contemplation. I'll dedicated some clones to it, shushu. Good, good. Any other new developments? Some rough ideas. Once I get something more solid, I'll let you know. Excellent. Now, you've rested enough, so unseal your sword so we can get your kenjutsu practice in. Awesome. Let's get wild, shushu. Naruto exclaimed after unsealing his katana. Oh. Naruto-kun, so eager to penetrate me. Don't say things like that, Tebayo. Naruto yelled, fighting a full blush. Kabuto was annoyed he had to stop his work to answer the door. He knew his mistress would not interrupt her training session with the Uzumaki, and with everyone else gone, it left it to him. He'd grumble if it weren't wholly beneath him. The Nara that was on the other side of the door didn't surprise him, and he escorted him toward the Uzumaki. However, when he heard a feminine giggle from the training grounds, he lost his footing. The white snake didn't giggle. She laughed in such a way to state her superiority, the predator taunting the prey. She laughed and it sent shivers down one's spine as you awaited the lethal strike or had a sense of foreboding as she knew something you didn't. She laughed and shit got done. She does not giggle. And yet he knows what he heard, and it was just one of the many distressing things about their time here. Or really, since her fascination with the Uzumaki became something more. They haven't tortured anyone together in 2 months. When they were killing Root Nin, she didn't even try to break them mentally. Just stab, 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 stab. No artistry or anything. She hasn't even forcibly experimented on someone in a while. She was becoming something different, and Kabuto didn't like that. He needed his mistress back. The Nara and the Uzumaki left, but Kabuto was focused on Orochimaru as she stared at him, which was always unnerving, but double so for someone that knew what she were truly capable of. Whatever has been bothering you lately, you need to deal with it, Kabuto-kun, she said simply, and he only nodded. She was right, he simply needed to deal with his problem. Itachi took his leave when Naruto made plans to go to the annual Inoshika-cho picnic. He was due for a shift change but had to report to the Sandaime before he could call it a day. The Sandaime suspects Orochimaru is up to something and plans to turn Naruto against the village. It's an understandable fear, but Itachi has yet to see any attempt to do so. Suggestive comments signaling a willingness to blur the lines between master and student. Yes. And Itachi really didn't know if the Sandaime would actually prefer that to the alternative. As he arrived in the Hokage's office, he kneeled and awaited instruction. Report. The Hokage ordered his most loyal Anbu. Nothing to report today, Hokage-sama. She has stuck to the same training regimen as when she began his instruction. How is he progressing? Well, Hokage-sama. Whatever limitations his body is presenting, they are finding ways to work around it, and he takes well to her teachings on tactics. And his ninjutsu. Innovative. He seems to demonstrate something new with frightening regularity. He may surpass the Nadaime as Konoha's greatest jutsu creator. A high bar, this I know from experience. So how would you rate him? He would not fall under our understanding as a natural genius like Kakashi and myself were called. He is prodigious, his output has more than earned him the title, but it's hard to classify. What do you mean? Hiruzen asked in curiosity. If you judge him by existing standards, he is talented but mostly gets by through his hard work. This isn't incorrect but misses the point. I believe to truly understand Naruto-kun you'll have to judge him against himself. His path won't be like anyone else's, convention won't have any relevance for him. A paradigm shift? Hiruzen asked rhetorically as he understood it. There were people who could excel in the most magnificent ways in what was known, like a child that can get perfect scores on any test. But there were those, the select few, whom thought so differently that they simply weren't meant to be understood by existing criteria. They broke the mold. Someone like that could be hard to train, as finding out how to reach them would tax a sensei that desired to utilize the tried and true. It hurt Hiruzen to think this, but Naruto's neglect might have been the best thing for him. Because there was no one to tell him he was wrong or wasting time, Naruto's development could chart a course none had attempted before. He didn't know what was possible or impossible, and his natural Uzumaki stubbornness would ensure the boy wouldn't deem something impossible until he was satisfied it was so. His stunningly large chakra capacity, ever increasing according to the village's censor corp, meant Naruto could do things at a much younger age than almost any before him. Throw in shadow clones and the boy's potential was bordering on infinite. Only hindered by time and imagination, it was a scary prospect. No way I could pry a specific jutsu out of you. Sorry, Hokage-sama, but it falls under clan jutsu until Naruto teaches another. No hints. I'm sorry, Hokage-sama. That's fine, Weasel. Is there anything else for you to report? He asked and saw Itachi shake his head. No. So, nothing that would give me pause. The Hokage asked. Nothing that is outwardly sinister, Hokage-sama. What do you mean by that, Itachi? We've accepted she is interested in Naruto and potentially grooming him for something. The only question was what. I believe she may be shaping him into her ideal paramour. Itachi answered dryly and saw the disturbance in the Sandaime's face. A what? He said in disbelief. Paramour. Her future lover, Hokage-sama. I know what a paramour is, child. Hiruzen said, dismissively. His mind now elsewhere as he wondered what his vile student had planned. Did she want a repeat of past events, a long-term seduction of Naruto only to wound him so severely he too turns toward the darkness? Minato's son labeled a traitor and using all of his skill and power to attack the leaf. That would be bad, beyond bad. But it would be a fitting revenge for two of the men that denied her the dream of being Hokage. To twist the hidden prince of the village so much he becomes its greatest enemy. He had to get her away from him, that had always been clear. There were but so many ways to do that. With the upcoming assault on Am, maybe he could arrange for her not to survive, but if that failed he'd damn himself. Or if she were prepared and left word to Naruto he'd believe her without question. Once again, she was so far ahead of him, the game was half over before he realized he was playing. He wanted to admonish himself and his diminishing prowess but needed to focus. She could not be allowed to break Naruto. The boy was meant for great things. He has the drive to become something special. Hiruzen knew that a lot of Naruto's loss of love for Konoha was because of him, the one person he trusted. He always assumed he could make the boy understand without being truthful, with kind words and ambiguous statements. That wasn't the case and he'd never mend the relationship, he had to accept that. But he did love and value Naruto, even if past actions would argue otherwise. He couldn't allow him to turn toward the darkness, her darkness. That he helped cultivate, a seed having borne fruit and looking to seed the earth again. A cycle of his own creation, built on selfishness and arrogance. He couldn't let that be his legacy, the coda to his long life. He was a flawed man but not an evil one. He'd sought peace when possible, lived to protect the king of the village. His positives were greater than his failings. He'd saved Naruto from her. Thank you, Weasel, you are dismissed. The Anbu wasted no time departing. Hiruzen then spoke to the Anbu still in his office. Please retrieve Anko Mitarashi, he ordered. He didn't like what he was about to do, nor that he'd be playing on Anko's hatred, but if he could get another woman to turn Naruto's head before Orochimaru could ever sink her fangs into him, then her plan would be for naught. Naruto would only hate him more for the manipulation, but it was for the best. The boy didn't understand how truly evil she was. Ino was being troublesome. Almost everyone was today. He didn't care for this annual get-together, a celebration of the long-standing alliance between the three clans. It was too much, too many people, too much interaction. As the heir, it was expected of him, but it was a mind-numbing waste of time, and yet he had little to no choice. He accepted it, but couldn't people try to not be annoying? And what was with the sudden interest in his teammate anyway? Stop ignoring me, Shika. Don't call me Shika, troublesome blonde. You let Naruto call you Shika. And that would be between him and I. Fine, be that way. I was just trying to learn more about your teammate. Yay, and I'm curious as to why. Why the sudden interest, Ino? What do you really want? Because if this is just about gossip, then you should drop it. It isn't about that. Not anymore, she thought. When we were at the academy, I told Sakura not to be his friend because he was bad. We were only 6 and I was going off what everyone said. I didn't know if it was true, but I thought I was doing the right thing. Why would I care about this? Because he does. I tried to talk to the new girls in his clan and they knew me as the girl that chased his friend away and wouldn't even entertain talking to me beyond that. Okay, so then there's nothing to do. Shikamaru said. He knew Naruto likely didn't care, the anecdote more of a reference point than anything else, but it wasn't his job to tell her that, nor did he really see any benefit to helping her. Ino, frankly, was selfish, vain and self-centered. She wrote Naruto off without knowing him and hadn't become interested until he was acknowledged as a clan heir. Shikamaru knew Naruto had a low opinion of a lot of Konoha's residents and knew why. He couldn't blame his teammate but also wouldn't encourage it. Ino being nakedly two-faced would only be another example to add to the multitude. But I want to apologize, to start over. Shikamaru sighed. He had to be direct, Ino wouldn't get subtle nor would she be led to a conclusion. It had to be blatant. Why? You didn't care when we formed our teams, you believed he was a loser with practically no evidence. Even when I told you that was wrong, you didn't believe me. But now that he's a clan heir and shown some skills, you want to make up. Just leave him alone, Ino. There will be plenty of people here. No reason to bother someone you wanted nothing to do with up to 5 minutes ago. So, that's it. I can't change. Can't try to make things right. No, because you haven't changed. Which is fine, no one cares, but don't make this out to be something it isn't. That's just too troublesome. Well, way to be a friend, Shikamaru. Ino said in a huff. We're friends? Shikamaru asked, surprised. Ino thought they were. Of course we are, we've known each other since forever. That doesn't make us friends. This is such a drag. Fine, then, Shikamaru. Since I'm so horrible I won't bother you, happy. Ino responded, hands on her hips. Not really. Asshole. You'll get over it. Ino wanted to respond but saw two figures approaching Shikamaru and her, his teammates. Shino was dressed like the stereotypical Aburame, large jacket, black pants and shades. Naruto was wearing a red, long-sleeved, V-neck shirt with black pants and had his hair pulled back in a loose bun. She had to admit the oft-maligned man bun worked on him. Hi, Shika. Naruto said with a wave and then peered around him to see Ino there. Hi, Ino-san. Troublesome. Hello, Naruto-san. Shino, she greeted, a little taken aback at his cheerfulness. Naruto-san, can I speak to you for a moment? Sure. He responded and followed her away from his teammates. Seeing her look conflicted caused him to drop the formalities. What can I do for you, Ino? I want to apologize, Naruto, for telling Sakura not to be your friend. It was cruel and I thought I was doing the right thing. I'm sorry. Oh, has that been bothering you? Of course I forgive you, we were little then. Really? Yay. You don't think I'd hold a grudge from something a 6-year-old did to me, did ya? Naruto asked with a grin. I wasn't sure, she said and felt much better. Well, I'm going to let you get back to Shikamaru, thanks Naruto. Ino spoke, walking away. No problem. Naruto called back, heading over to Shikamaru and Shino. Did you resolve your business with her? Yay, but it was weird. Anyway, how are you guys? I am well, Naruto-san. How was your mission to Suna? Fine. Fought a little, ate a little, made some friends. Of course you did, Shikamaru muttered, causing Naruto to laugh. The trio prepared them some food and found a place away from the crowds, talking about their training, missions, and Shikamaru's long list of complaints. So, I have to get a new vest because of you, troublesome redhead. You could use a tighter fit anyway, you should fire your tailor, Shika. I know a guy. Shino offered helpfully, with Naruto giving him the thumbs up. See, Shino even knows a guy. Naruto paused to digest Shino's words before exploding. Why don't I know any guys? I won't let you get ahead of me, Aburame. But I already am. Why? As you have already stated, you have no guys. I have plenty and therefore will win. Are we really talking about this? Is this really happening? I must request you be silent, Shikamaru-san, as Naruto-san is on the cusp of admitting his defeat. I admit nothing. Just you wait, I'll have guys and they will be of a superior quality than your guys. This argument is stupid. You both have to realize this. Shikamaru said and saw that neither of them were paying attention. Hey, you troublesome teammates, don't ignore me. You both always get into these weird competitions that don't matter. He started it, it was started by him, they both said. Anyone else would form a sweet drop, but even Shikamaru's sweat thought it was too troublesome. Can we get back to the topic at hand? No, Shikamaru-san, we cannot. Not until Naruto-san once again acknowledges his defeat. You cheated last time, Tebayo. And the time before that. The challenge was ambiguous, Naruto said, animatedly, hair flying in all directions. Troublesome, you submitted the challenge. How could you confuse yourself? Quite easily, I imagine. Shino answered with the barest hint of amusement. Aburame with the dagger. You're both bastards, you know that. What's that? I can't hear you from down there. Shikamaru retorted through yawns. Shika, you're lying down. Height doesn't even matter when you're lying down. Shino, you hear something. It sounds akin to a girlish shriek. Why? Because before a boy's balls drop they may have a high-pitched voice. Oh, so that's how you want to play it. Fine. I'm throwing a water whip party and you're both invited. Naruto said, eyes all white and hair formed into 9 tail-like formations. He instantly formed the water whips and gave chase to his teammates. May have pushed it too far this time, Shino. And running is so troublesome. Shikamaru observed while dodging Naruto's whips. Such is the price of victory, Shikamaru-san. Shino replied, narrowly avoiding a whip himself. Troublesome. It was late and he wanted to go home. He'd had a full and stressful day. It was always at this time he wondered if he should just give Tsunade the seat and be done with it. He could still shepherd them through the Amazalt while ceding the day-to-day work to her. She might not like it, might fight tooth and nail, but it'd be worth it to get out of that seat. He wanted to go home, but fortune was not on his side. Have you lost the rest of that full mind of yours, Hiruzen? Koharu, ignoring that I'm still the Hokage, what would lead you to talk to me like this? You assigning Anko a mission she, and I quote, is guaranteed to leave me gutted and rotting in an unmarked grave. Anko was being a bit hyperbolic. Besides, I'm sure you both agree with me that we can't let Orochimaru taint Naruto-kun. She can't be allowed to foster darkness within Minato's boy. Oh, he's Minato's boy now. And we actually take that into account. We don't need to have that argument tonight, Koharu. Homura said, though he too disliked Hiruzen and manipulated them. They didn't want to deny Naruto his heritage but were also concerned about his lack of protection and the wave of assassins that may come after Minato's legacy. To know that wasn't Hiruzen's only motivation offended both of them, but they'd yet to address it. There seemed to always be something more important to handle. Fine, we won't do that tonight, but Hiruzen, you are making a mistake. And worst yet, you're being obvious and sexist. Seeing his confused face, Koharu continues, Anko is one of our best kunoikis, so you assign her a mission to fuck a child. You would never assign Kakashi to screw a 12-year-old girl, and we all know that. I didn't order her to have sex. Seduction doesn't have to end in sex. Even if she just made him fall in love, it'd be enough. Did she tell you why I wanted her to do it? Yes. And you're being irrational. Even if she did have designs on Naruto, that's not illegal, and we don't act against our shinobi without evidence of wrongdoing. We aren't Danzo. Homura answered. Besides, why are you so convinced that she must have ill intentions for Naruto? Why bother coming back here, giving us full access to her own hidden village if she has some dastardly plan? She may be arrogant, all of your students are, but she's not stupid, so why make this unnecessarily difficult? God knows, Naruto had more than enough incentive to leave the village. She wouldn't have had to try hard to induce him to do so. Because it would be her ultimate revenge against Minato, and is just the sick kind of poetic she likes. Hiruzen defended but saw Koharu wasn't convinced, but Homura understood the man's words. Koharu took notice of Homura's expression and realized she was out of the loop. What aren't you telling me? Hiruzen breathed in deeply before releasing it with a sigh. For a brief period, Orochimaru and I were having an affair. I sent her to Danzo as a means of ending it, as an attempt to save my marriage and a way of dealing with the guilt of coercing her into getting an abortion. Hiruzen didn't have to wait long for the slap that greeted his confession. So, you're one of them. I thought better of you, Hiruzen. I thought you had more integrity and discipline than that. I'm sorry I disappointed you, but nothing can change what happened, and it can't be used as a reason to turn a blind eye to her actions. No, but it does add context. I watched that girl grow up, her and Tsunade both. While not a direct sensei, I was proud to have helped in molding them into the stellar kunoiki they became. It hurt me just as much as you when she turned bad. It never made complete sense. She had darkness, she could be sadistic, but she always had control. Always. And then out of nowhere she becomes a monster. It never added up, until now. She and in turn the village paid for your wandering dick, Hiruzen. Yes, it has, and I want to rectify that. Don't you see why I need to limit her influence, all of her influence on him? I see an old man overreacting. Or do you just not like Naruto potentially getting something that was once yours? I'm not that crass, Koharu. This isn't about some lingering possessiveness. Maybe not, but we don't see the wisdom in assigning Anko this mission. If you had more evidence or even a better argument, but her just being blindly spiteful won't do. And as one of the daimyo's stipulations, you know we can overrule you if we both agree. We do, Hiruzen, this mission is cancelled. Homura voiced. You're both making a mistake. Only time will tell, but Hiruzen, did you ever stop to consider that maybe Naruto could be a good influence on her? Maybe bring back the loyal kunoiki she used to be? Koharu asked. If he were older. Maybe, but he's still a child in many respects. And that child rallied a nation to fight for itself. He might surprise you, they both may if you give them a chance. She said as both advisors left, leaving the longest-serving Hokage to his own thoughts, but try as he may, he simply couldn't picture a version of this where Naruto didn't turn out for the worst. The two female Sannin sat in an ornate study. Bookshelves up to the ceiling, fine woodworking throughout the office with jade accents. A well-designed and maintained office, fitting for one of the shinobi elders and former student of Tobarama Senju. I didn't think you could wake up this early. Orochimaru said. I don't want to be up this early. Tsunade responded. Besides, I haven't done anything, so I have no idea as to why I'm even here. Maybe she wants an audience. Orochimaru pondered. You are due for an ass reaming, so it's a possibility. Tsunade voiced with a slight grin. And you're not. I basically just retired. Our situations are different. I see you two still squabble like schoolgirls. A third voice spoke from behind them. Koharu requested their presence at her estate at 7 in the morning, sending out the notice as soon as she left Hiruzen's office. Clearly, she'd been left out of some major events and wanted to get some things straight. She had taken on a role for Tsunade and Orochimaru similar to what Mito-sama had done for her, the prodigious Uzumaki not willing to let Koharu be a weak link on her team. It was a tradition she'd hoped would carry through, but wars and other tragedies had seemed to remove all she would select for the position, the last being Kushina. But it was not to be, however her original girls were back, so maybe it could be salvaged. First, however, everything would need to be brought out in the open. No more secrets and no more lies. Thank you for coming so early, I'm happy to see you both. It's good to see you as well. Tsunade replied. Is it? Because you've been back for nearly 2 months and I've yet to see you, either of you outside of that initial meeting. If I didn't know any better I'd think you were avoiding me. I've been busy with hospital duties and my own training. Tsunade quickly answered. I figured you wouldn't want to see me. Orochimaru said simply, her voice betraying no emotion. I should cane you both. Tsunade, you're never that busy. And you, of course I'd want to see you, girl. Why didn't you tell me what was happening between Hiruzen and you? Why didn't you come to me? I wouldn't have during the affair and afterward, what was I to say? It was so cliché as to not merit further attention. It did. The affair was wrong, you both were, but Hiruzen was more so. He was your sensei and your superior and had no business in engaging in such activities. And what he requested of you. If you told me earlier I'd been in a better condition to do more than slap him. You slapped sensei? Tsunade asked in mild surprise. Of course I did. He knew better. This could have been prevented. You knowing doesn't change anything. Of course it does. It doesn't justify what you did, but it does add context. We worked hard so you'd have a firm control over your impulses, and for years you did. However, being emotionally distraught would surely affect said control, and with Tsunade gone you needed someone else to help keep the line. It clearly wasn't going to be Danzo, and if that man was still alive I'd shave layers from his bones. Koharu said the last part in disgust. I wasn't distraught, I'm not what you think I am. Clearly, it was always going to happen and I could only pretend for so long. I'm a lot of things, most of them bad, but I won't be reduced to some heartbroken little girl. And yet, that's exactly what you were. It doesn't make you weak to have cared for him nor anyone else you may grow to care about in the future. Koharu argued and saw Orochimaru narrow her eyes. Hiruzen suspects and was going to send Anko to interfere. Thankfully, she had enough sense to come to me, though it was mostly because she was sure you'd kill her. Smart girl. Orochimaru muttered, not enjoying feeling like a child in front of the elder Kunoichi. Wait, Orochi is interested in someone. Who? This is not a gossip circle. Orochimaru protested. If that isn't confirmation, I don't know what is. So, who's the lucky guy? Anyone I know. Why did you have to bring this up in front of her? You know how sappy she gets. Orochimaru said to Koharu, causing Tsunade to look affronted. If you'd come visit me once in a while I wouldn't have to address everything at once. This is really your own fault. Koharu retorted, though matriarchal shaming wasn't the entire reason. And Tsunade, wipe that look off your face. You're as sappy as they come, you just hide it under a veneer of bitterness. Also, use that keen intellect if you want to know, the list isn't that long, she finished, waving off Orochimaru's glare. Tsunade did as suggested and did use her intellect. She knew Orochimaru wasn't around that many people, assuming the target was male reduced the number even further. Really, outside of Kabuto and the Kaguya, both seemingly too submissive for her, she spent the significant part of her time with. Got a thing for redheads, do you? She asked, smugly. True, he was too young now and by conventional ethics calling dibs on a child would be looked down upon, but she didn't have a problem with it once he was older. Shut up. Orochimaru didn't get embarrassed ever, but she was not enjoying this, at all. She didn't really care who knew she had designs on Naruto, nor was she shamed by being drawn to someone so much younger than herself. But she felt uncomfortably vulnerable around these two, the two people that knew her best and always accepted her, even when she'd done things to push them away. She could never intimidate them, scare them, or anything else. Tsunade even went so far as to tease her occasionally. And unlike Jiraiya's insults, which were presented as playful but always had an undercurrent of derisive jealousy, Tsunade's was always meant to be inclusive. She cared about them, and what they thought. That's why she was uncomfortable with their judgment, even if it were ultimately positive and accepting. If it hadn't been, would she have changed? Doubt herself. No to the former, possibly yes to the latter, and she didn't like that. Doubt and indecision slowed one down, made him falter. Orochimaru was pulled from her thoughts when Tsunade spoke. What? He's a cutie now, and I'd imagine he'd mature into a fine young man. I agree. Well, I wasn't asking for your permission. I think that's as close to a thanks for the support as we're going to get. Tsunade replied, grinning, enjoying seeing her friend opening up again. But soon, the grin faded when something occurred to her, causing her to scowl. The other two women were discomforted by the change in her emotions. Sensei was going to have Anko seduce Naruto. Yes, Koharu answered. A sitting Hokage was going to attempt to directly interfere in internal clan politics. I didn't even think of that, Homura hadn't either. Hiruzen really had been slipping. If the other clans got wind of him trying to, possibly, plant a matriarch into a clan, one he'd already stolen from, it could lead to widespread distrust. It could be portrayed as Hiruzen attempting to gain further access to the Uzumaki funds by have a sympathetic party close to the clan head or even a long-term embezzlement scheme. If nothing else, it was tearing down the laws and customs that gave clans a degree of autonomy. Had this gone through and it was ever discovered, Hiruzen would have been further disgraced. An even larger blight on an otherwise stellar dual tenure. Orochi-chan, I know you hate him. I understand why, but I am going to ask you drop this as a personal favor to me. I'd be lying if I said I'd drop it completely, and I won't lie to you. However, the value it has currently is rather low. If he doesn't try anything like this again, then it can stay locked away. I can live with that, and I'll inform Hiruzen. Now, as much fun as it is to talk about your courtship and guilt, both you girls, I did have another reason to call you here. As you both know, I've acted as something of a mentor for many of the village's kunoichi, starting with you two. I've enjoyed it and have been proud to do so, but my time is coming to an end. I'm old and the younger generations need new voices and influences. I'd like you two to take up that role. I won't be taking on a full-time student again. Once I got over my issues, I poured all I had into training Shizune. I'm not asking you to take on another apprentice sooner, just like you weren't mine. Just be available, share your knowledge and experiences. You know the double standards that exist, how dismissive people are of kunoichi. But fangirls are going to ruin us all. Tsunade said in mock horror, causing all three women to laugh. Fine, I'll see what I can do. I'm already doing something similar with our medical corp. And you? What about me? If they aren't terrified of me, they certainly don't trust me. Besides, I've done that enough in my own village. Two of which have joined Konoha. Yes, the additional Uzumaki. You may have a point, but you need to make amends to Anko. That isn't going to happen. Orochimaru said dryly. And yet, it must. Her hatred of you and fear of that seal is holding her back. Fine, you insufferable old woman. Is there anything else you want? Mare, to be young again. I might take a ride on a certain redhead myself. Koharu said, snickering at the stunned faces of the two Sannin before her. Can I just say, officially, I don't want to do this. The Nara genius complained from the clearing of the training grounds. That's fine, Shikamaru, but as you rarely want to do anything, the announcement lacks potency. Kurenai responded. Besides, this will be good for you to assess your relative level. The same goes for the rest of you. The ruby-eyed Junin informed her team. As we may be assigned higher-ranked solo missions, it is important to know how to disable teams while having enough energy to escape or finish our tasks. Whereas the participating genin teams should be able to subdue a single rookie Chunin. Logic would dictate whatever the outcome, it will demonstrate areas of improvement for all. Yay. Except a certain troublesome redhead blows a hole in the entire balance. I haven't even done anything yet. But you always do, give it time, were the responses for his team, causing a depression cloud to form over his head. You guys are so mean to me. Don't be like that, Naruto-kun, Kurenai said, rubbing the boy's head and earning a mild blush, but Shikamaru raises a good point. While technically you're a rookie Chunin, we all know that isn't really the case. So the other Junin sensei and I came up with some restrictions to avoid you upending the whole deal. Fine, what are they? No shadow and few clones. No ninjutsu above B rank, and no overloading your lesser rank jutsu to achieve similar effects. Also, no kenjutsu. Now, I officially don't want to do this. Shino isn't complaining. I relish the opportunity to watch their naive confidence get crushed by my dominance. Nothing is more pure than that, sensei. Oh. K. Kurenai said before fishing out 3 scrolls, one colored black, one green and one orange, handing her students one each. Now go to your assigned locations as we'll begin soon. And Shikamaru, if you just give up and hand over your scroll, you'll have an all-out spar with Naruto as punishment. Shikamaru just took his scroll and marched off, cursing his fate of being partnered with a confounding woman and a troublesome Uzumaki. The other two Chunin departed as well while Kurenai simply waited for the other teams to arrive. It was about 30 minutes, as even Kakashi arrived on time. Asuma spoke first. Okay, teams, we're doing a joint training exercise. Each member of Team Kurenai has a scroll in which you are to retrieve. They are stationed in 3 separate locations and cannot leave the general area. You may attempt to gain the scrolls through any means, short of lethal or maiming blows. However, if you are defeated by the Chunin, you cannot attempt to attack them again. But if another team has the scroll, we can go after them. Asked Neji. Yes, you get one attempt at the Chunin, but as long as you can still fight, you can try to steal it from any of the teams. The first team to get all the scrolls, or have the most by the end of the time limit, wins. You are to treat this like a real mission, meaning if any member of my team is able to put you in a position where you'd flee or surrender, then you've failed and must move on. If you push on in those circumstances because this isn't real, then regardless of if you get the scroll, you will have failed. Kurenai added. You all have time to plan and strategize. The time starts when the first team leaves the clearing, but be warned, that gives Shino, Shikamaru and Naruto time to trap and fortify their positions, so delaying may not be to your advantage. Kakashi continued and the shunshined away. The other Junin did so as well as the 3 genin teams separated. What do you think, Neji? Asked Tenten. I say we go after the Uzumaki. I can see through his traps and we can finally settle the score. Neji answered, clinching his prosthetic arm. Yes, let's engage in a most youthful fight and stoke our flames to new heights. After that, should we just wait to see if any of the other teams gain a scroll and go after them? Tenten finished and Team 9 was content with their plan. I think we should go after Shikamaru. He's so lazy he'll barely put up a fight. Ino suggested. But he's really smart, he might have traps set or any number of things. Chuji added. Nah, he's too lazy for that. Besides, we can overwhelm him fast and then head over to whoever is closest to Shikamaru. And then hide after that. Each team has a tracker, Ino-san. Hiding won't be easy and with 2 scrolls we'll be the targets. Hinata added. Then what should we do, Hinata? Asked Chuji. Stay here. Each team, at some point, is going to try to take a scroll from another team, hoping a member of Team Kurenai has tired them out so most of the work is done. If we all chase after a scroll, we'll all be depleted and then depleted further when we fight. If we let the 2 combat teams go after a scroll and then fight each other, then they'll be weakened and we can swoop in. Or, they ignore each other and go after 2 Chunin each, the results are similar. We should be the last people they fight, the last team to fight. So, just wait. That's your plan. Yes, Ino-san, that is my plan. I like it, Choji said. I say we target Shino. My Kaiten Jutsu are a natural enemy to his insects and the Sharingan will allow me to see them. Kiba you can track and Sakura can be long distance support if we need it. And after, assuming we beat Shino? Asked Kiba. We rest if need be and then go after Naruto. I assume Team 9 is going after him first for revenge. Assuming they have a drawn-out fight, it'll leave some weakened targets for us. We get the second scroll and then head to the clearing, playing defense with what we have. What if Team 9 is still fresh? They'll be hard to beat. Kiba added. It's a gamble, but with the Nara's shadow jutsu there is a chance one of us would be captured and if we are we lose. Team 9 was the first to take off, starting the timer on the exercise. Neji activated his Byakugan and ran toward the Uzumaki. He saw the chakra-infused Fuinjutsu and guided his team through the traps set in the wooded area. He avoided the chakraless traps as well. Team 9 were progressing well until Tenten stepped on a patch of earth that sunk, setting off a kunai trap. The projectiles flew toward the team at a rapid pace, each taking to the trees to avoid them. This set off another set of pressure traps as not just kunai but a powdery substance was released as well. Neji managed to avoid the powder but his teammates did not. However, neither Tenten nor Lee felt any differently, so they continued on, at a much slower pace. It frustrated them, having to take their time and check, thoroughly for even the slightest inconsistency. The care in which they were having to move was wearing on their patience, especially Lee as he preferred to charge ahead at obstacles. It only made his flames of youth burn hotter. After 15 minutes of entering the wood area, the team made it toward another clearing and saw Naruto waiting for them. Neji relayed that the Uzumaki hadn't moved since the exercise started, as if he were waiting to face them head-on. All of Team 9 liked that and took their positions for their attack formation. Tenten began by throwing a barrage of kunai at Naruto. He responded by performing a series of hand seals and performed the wind style, wind wall jutsu, halting the kunai. Neji and Lee were already in motion, assuming Naruto would have to move, but even after the effects of the jutsu they continued on, prepared to attack. Naruto threw a Raiten-charged kunai toward Neji, who dodged it easily, but the brief pause allowed Naruto time to perform another jutsu, water style, Gummy Swamp Jutsu, one of Naruto's first usable, original jutsu. He spits out a large glob of sticky goo, creating a trap. Lee's momentum carried him right into the jutsu, ending his forward charge. Neji decided to continue onward, believing that between Tenten and he, the Hyuga was in the best position to mount an offensive. After her experience in the Chunin exams, Tenten was reluctant to face a futon user, not having created counters yet. She watched Lee struggling to free himself and went to aid her boisterous teammate. Neji finally closed the distance and began attacking, his Byakugan blazing intensely. He knew he couldn't kill the Uzumaki, but if he could severely hurt him, Neji would be satisfied, for now. Naruto was not unprepared for Neji's frontal attack, having retrieved 2 kunai from his holster. When it appeared Neji showed little concern for the knives, likely believing they'd never touch him. Naruto decided to fix that assumption by channeling supersonic chakra into them, extending their reach. Neji saw the manipulation and easily deduced he was at great risk if he kept being overly aggressive. He calmed himself but continued the pressure, simply more focused and controlled. The chakra-infused knives managed a few nicks but nothing deep to draw much blood, and Neji was thankful for his training with Tenten as the small cuts did nothing to deter him. He eventually got the timing and attack counter patterns of the Uzumaki and laid a trap. Attacking in such a way that Naruto left his chest open for a palm strike. Neji took full advantage of the opening, his chakra-infused palm speeding toward Naruto, ill intent rolling off Neji. Neji struck but was unhappy as he saw Naruto replace himself with a log. He almost missed the ceiling array on the log but caught it in enough time to perform a chitin. If it were a normal exploding tag, the chitin would have offered the necessary protection. But it wasn't, it was a flashbang array. Neji's initial chitin saved him from the wood splinters and even the glaring flash, but the sphere of chakra did not prevent the high-pitched sound from reaching his ears. This caused him to falter and fall to the ground, the sonic assault destabilizing him. Neji felt a hand grab him from underground and a moment later his body went rigid, he was unable to move. Naruto emerged from the ground, ready to end it but had to move away from Neji as Lee was on the attack once more. Seeing Neji hurt, Lee decided to race toward his teammate, and it was fortunate he did as it allowed him to interrupt Naruto before he could detain Neji. In a blur he was in front of Naruto, aiming a punch toward the smaller Chunin. Naruto dodged the punch and slapped it away. Lee responded with a kick, aimed at Naruto's midsection. Naruto met the kick with the bottom of his foot and then used chakra to stick to Lee's leg. Taken off guard, Lee didn't fight Naruto when he forced his leg down to the ground and then into the ground as Lee felt his foot sink. Before he could begin to understand what just happened, which was really just basic earth manipulation, Naruto hit Lee in the chin with a jab. The Raiten chakra augmenting his speed allowed Naruto to multiple the force of the jab and Lee was knocked out. Putting a kunai to Lee's throat and using the incapacitated boy as a shield, the recently promoted Chunin spoke, "Drop all of your weapons, admit defeat or I'll slit his throat," he said in an even tone. Tenten looked upon her teammates. Neji couldn't move and Lee was at the bastard's mercy. She hung her head in shame. They'd lost. It was fast, it was efficient, and they had barely been given a chance. It only caused the dislike of Naruto to increase as Team 9 felt he had embarrassed them again, and with minimal effort. Tenten dropped her scrolls just as Lee was waking up. He was ready to fight, but they reminded him of the rules and that they couldn't continue to attack Naruto. Naruto undid the paralysis seal and Neji shot up, suffering a lingering headache. He disregarded his weapons, just as Tenten had, shaking in disgust, anger and shame. The trio left back into the wooded area along the way, coming up with another plan. Team 7 wasted no time taking off toward Shino when Team 9 departed. Kiba was taking the lead as he was tracking Shino by scent. Sakura was behind him and Sasuke took the rear, making sure to avoid any of Shino's Kikaichu that he may have left behind. As they got closer to Shino's location, Kiba tripped a wire which triggered a series of pepper bombs being unleashed from above. The instant the pepper concoction spread, Kiba had a coughing and wheezing fit, hard enough to throw Akamaru off of him. The bombs acted as an irritant to not only Kiba's sense of smell but to Sasuke's eyes. The Uchiha didn't quite close them fast enough, which caused a burning sensation, one that the other members of Team 7 were experiencing as well. Immediately they cleansed their eyes with their water canteens and prepared to continue on. Kiba went to retrieve Akamaru, who seemed stunned from being tossed. When Kiba picked up Akamaru, the dog dissolved into a mass of Kikaichu and latched onto Kiba. The Inuzuka attempted to get the insects off him by rolling around and even hitting himself, but it was for naught as soon he was drained and passed out from chakra loss. Sasuke heard a gasp and turned around to see Shino had Sakura, a side pointed toward her midsection. With his Sharingan activated, he saw it was the real one, not a clone. He was frustrated his team had been so easily defeated by tricks. He didn't force Shino to make his ultimatum, throwing down his weapons, and saw the Aburame nod in approval. Our insect clone brought a subdued Akamaru out from behind Sasuke and Shino left via Shunshin. Sasuke picked up Kiba and Sakura carried Akamaru as Team 7 departed from the area, never realizing they had some extra passengers with them. Hinata watched both teams struggle and ultimately fail, each diminished in their scuffles. She realized this would be the perfect opportunity to neutralize her competition before going for the scrolls. She had the beginnings of a plan, but a crucial element depended on Ino. The Yamanaka had improved since the exams, but this wasn't an easy task. Change in plans, both teams failed to obtain a scroll and are weakened. I say we take out the teams and then go after the scrolls ourselves. I'll take Uzumaki-kun while you both go after Shikamaru. Why Shikamaru? And why would you go after Naruto alone? Asked Ino. Because Shikamaru-kun likely can't hold both of you, and given his general laziness won't want an extended fight. Shino-kun is prepared, had an easier fight than Uzumaki-kun, and will fight harder than Shikamaru-kun. I'll go alone because my skills match up to his, and since he's already tired it'll be easy to defeat him. Hinata lied, believably. What's the plan? Asked Choji. Team 7 and 9 are on their way back. Shino-kun has hidden some of his Kikaichu on Team 7, likely to attack Team 9, though I have no idea how he'll direct them. When they do, I'll neutralize Team 9 while Ino will neutralize Sasuke-san with her jutsu. Knock out Sakura and then I'll do the same to Sasuke-san's body. Sounds like a good idea. Ino said with a smile, and Choji agreed. Hinata waited for the two teams to get closer before giving them the signal, but once she did the team moved silently until Hinata signaled they should stop. Team 10 watched the other teams watch each other warily, but the respective leaders deduced neither managed to retrieve a scroll. The question was, who would go where next? If they were both going to the Nara, they'd have a fight on their hands anyway. If one team was going to wait while the other made a second attempt, they might as well try to take the other team out. Team 7 was a person down, and with Lee having been recently knocked out he wasn't at full capacity, but Team 9 had a distinct advantage. The stare down was intense, as Sasuke and Neji thought about what to do, but each seemed to conclude a negotiation was needed as both approached each other. Hinata activated her Byakugan to see what was being said amongst the two. She was not surprised when Sasuke agreed to allow Neji and company to go after the Nara in exchange for holding hostilities. Hinata smiled when the Kikaichu, unnoticed by either, slowly attached themselves to Neji. He felt the drain immediately and assumed it was the work of Sasuke. Hinata wasted no time and launched two poison senbon from her wrists, each one hitting Tenten and Lee. Since the paralytic was fast-acting, both were down in seconds. Neji attempted to attack Sasuke, but the constant drain of his chakra slowed him down and Sasuke easily slipped the finger jab, choosing to create some distance, but even he started to feel drained. It was happening faster than he could understand. His vision was starting to darken, consciousness fading fast. The last thing he saw was Neji hitting the ground before he followed suit. Hinata, taking full advantage of her fortunate circumstance, fired another senbon at Sakura, hitting the distracted girl and knocking her out. What the hell, Hinata, that was not the plan. Ino yelled, indignantly. Somehow, Shino-kun planted his Kikaichu on Sasuke-san and set him up to attack Neji and Sasuke-san both. It might not be safe to get close to them, Ino-san. Besides, now, all you have to do is get the scroll from Shikamaru-san. Good luck, the heiress said before darting off toward her target, unsealing a metallic compound bow and a quiver of arrows as she made her way through the path Team 9 took. She stopped to line up her shot. Naruto was sitting down, relaxed but not unaware. She pointed her bow, knocking her arrow. She held her breath for a moment and released it slowly just as she released the projectile. It tore through the sky, weaving carefully between the trees headed toward her intended target. At the last moment he rolled out of the way and the arrow struck a tree behind him. Hinata was already on the move and released 3 more arrows. He created an earth wall to intercept them. The Hyuga heiress stayed in her new position, relieved she'd avoided any traps and couldn't use the arrow trajectories to guess her position. She knew his facility with shadow clones and wondered why he hadn't made any yet, as it would be an ideal way to find her location. She didn't have much time to consider as she watched him blur through hand signs and slam his hand on the ground before a sealing array appeared followed by chakra smoke. Oni-chan, the sleepy panther asked. Hinata fought down the urge to go cuddle with the cute summons. Hi. I need your help, can you track the scent on these arrows? Hi. The cub answered and appeared to have obtained her scent. Hinata braced herself, moving too early or too late would put her in a bad position. What she was not prepared for was for the panther to merge with a shadow and disappear from her sight. Without delay, she decided movement was needed and narrowly avoided the swipe of a panther claw because of it. The panther cub was less cute now. Hinata decided active engagement, up close and personal, would be better than the hit and run tactics she'd utilized. She sped towards Naruto and took a swing at him with her bow, which he ducked. She followed up with a roundhouse. Naruto responded by dropping straight to the ground. Hinata had to jump in the air to avoid the panther again, twisting to not leave herself vulnerable. She was outflanked and knew it but wasn't going to give up. Hinata, having sealed her bow and arrows, sped toward Naruto again. She didn't fight in the traditional Hyuga manner, adopting sweeping motions instead of the jabs and thrusts the gentle fist is known for. She would often have to aim a strike at the cub to keep her honest but spent most of her time pressing Naruto. She went for a palm thrust, which he stopped and caught with both hands, one at the wrist and one at her elbow. Hinata was not deterred as she bent her middle and ring fingers down to pull at a trigger, unleashing more senbon from her hidden launcher. Naruto avoided them, barely, but decided he'd been on the defensive long enough. He let Hinata close the distance again, but before she got into attack range she was ensconced in his chakra-infused hair while the cub jumped on her back. You give? He asked and the heiress nodded. Naruto undid the jutsu, face still neutral. So, you're an archer? Hinata nodded again. That is so cool. Dattebayo. How long have you been training? What can you do? How far can you shoot? What do your arrows do? Hinata would be a bit taken back by his abrupt change if she hadn't watched him for so long, under orders. Let's see. Since I was 9. I'm pretty accurate and can take shots most would think impossible due to obstructions. 53 meters. They are arrows, Uzumaki-kun, they just do what arrows do. What about Fuinjutsu? Maybe some seals to add some additional features like flash bang or explosions or knockout gas or gloves. Gloves? Hinata asked with a quirked eyebrow. Yay. Like boxing gloves to act as a bludgeon. That doesn't sound very practical, Uzumaki-kun. Naruto laughed before agreeing. I guess it doesn't. Sorry, my imagination gets away from me sometimes. Hinata giggles in response. That's fine, almost none has shown as much enthusiasm for my interests as you just have. Thank you. Naruto rubs the back of his head bashfully, it's nothing. Besides, it's really cool. I was not expecting arrows. I do think some specialty arrows would really take things up a notch. Also, have you ever considered a senbon launcher that was chakra powered or had a seamless triggering mechanism? I have enough to know they don't exist. Far. They should. Naruto said and he took out an empty scroll, a brush and some ink and started writing and doodling furiously. Hinata sat beside the Uzumaki and watched him work as he'd write down plans and cross them out only to write out some more. After several moments, it seemed he'd come to a stopping point. If you'd like, Hinata-san, I could experiment some and see what comes of it. I'd like that. Awesome, Tabayo. What would you want your arrows to do? Naruto asked and Hinata contemplated for a moment. His initial suggestions, excluding the boxing glove arrow, were good but surely she could come up with some herself. The two sat and chatted, trading ideas for the rest of the time until Kurenai showed up to signal time had elapsed, an hour later. Apparently, Ino and Choji were not able to get a scroll either. The Junin put their heads together, each having witnessed some part of the exercise. Guy was the most displeased with his team, seeing they allowed a personal issue to overwhelm their thinking. He also saw that his team was too linear and inflexible. The powdery substance that was on them, they dismissed was a pheromone that caused Kikaichu to become aggressive. Shibi used a similar tactic with his teammates, allowing them to bait enemies so he could attack them from far away. His team just assumed it did nothing or forgot about it entirely. Not good, especially if they would be fighting Am Ninja. If he couldn't change or curb that, he wouldn't allow them to participate in the Am assault. Kakashi was neither pleased nor displeased. His team operated as a unit. Sasuke had a sound plan but was simply outmaneuvered by the Aburame. He'd drill them on their tactics more as they've witnessed what a superior plan can net. Asuma was satisfied with most of his team's performance. Hinata was acting as a leader and had a good plan. She even knew when to change things to take advantage of the situation. The plan to have Choji and Ino take on Shikamaru together was solid, but Choji's reluctance cost them in the end, giving Shikamaru enough time to detain Ino, forcing Choji to submit. Shikamaru used a loophole in the rules and kept both members there longer so they couldn't go after Shino nor Naruto. Guy said Hinata put up a good fight against Naruto, but being tag teamed by his summons left her at a disadvantage she couldn't overcome. That was understandable. Training with a Sannin was bound to net some positive results even if he hadn't been ahead of them to begin with. However, turning the last hour into a date was not what he expected of Hinata. Kurenai was downright smug. Her boys kicked ass and took names. She didn't even bother to hide it. They may not have been the strongest genin team, but they were the best. Shikamaru and Shino were great at meticulous planning, leading their enemies to the conclusions they wanted, and their abilities had been tested to the max by Naruto. Why? Because he is a natural at counterplanning. If Shikamaru and Shino were elegant and precise, Naruto was like his namesake, a true maelstrom that would upend anything with a split-second decision they couldn't account for. They influenced each other and helped each other grow. And since no one got a scroll, she got to pocket $15,000 Ryo. It was good to be Team 8. What is Naruto Uzumaki to you? Hiruzen repeated the question Koharu just asked him. It was an odd question and it felt like a setup. What was Naruto to him? The obvious ones were Minato's son and Jinchuriki. Talented Chunin. Source of regret. Former surrogate grandchild. Once hope for the future. He didn't know what Koharu wanted with this question, and it seemed his face gave away his confusion. While you were thinking, did you list Clan Heir? She asked neutrally. No. And let's say Anko's mission would have been a complete success. Let's say they even got married, what would have happened? He would free of Orochimaru. Damn it, Hiruzen, think. Don't obsess, don't react, think. And think he did, as he was clearly missing a crucial piece of the puzzle until it hit him light a rate in jutsu. Clan Heir, as in clan business. As in you planting a matriarch in the clan you pilfered funds from. Do you realize how bad that could have been if it were ever found out you were even planning on doing such a thing? Koharu questioned. I overlooked it entirely. I've really lost my edge, haven't I? H will do that. I overlooked it as well. Tsunade pointed it out for me, so at least I know she has the wits to sit in the chair. Hiruzen, she's back. She's not going anywhere. If she had some grandiose plan, maybe you could have unearthed it 10 years ago, but you won't now. All you're doing is making mistakes that could damage the position of Hokage long after you leave it. Hiruzen could only hang his head in shame. She was right about all of it. She has reason to hate me. And those reasons gave her the justification to become a monster. What if Naruto decides he gets to be a monster as well? They are different people. And if you don't want him to become a monster, don't give him reason to act as one. Besides, I've read Inoki's reports. He'd leave before he'd take revenge. Our Hunterman would be most at risk. He has a team, he's making friends. Someone like him, he never needed much to tie him to the village. Hiruzen didn't bother to respond, hoping his former teammate was right. After nearly being set up by the Sandaime, Anko needed to be alone, and the one place she could ensure she'd be isolated was the Forest of Death. It felt good to cut loose when no one was watching, to mindlessly destroy things or just speed through the dense forest. It felt like home because it was a place that had no association with her former sensei. There was no taint, no one to judge, to glare at her in suspicion. She was free. So, as she making sport out of some ROUS, she was not pleased to see the one person she didn't want to see standing above, because she always stood above her. Was this it? Her sensei was finally going to end her. Why did she wait? To just make her suffer through years of ostracization? Why? Stop asking yourself so many questions when you don't have enough information to build any conclusions. You're just making yourself anxious and tense. If I were here to attack you, and I'm not, you've already given me an advantage. What do you want? To remove your seal? Orochimaru said plainly. That's not funny. Anko shouted. I'm not joking. If you aren't going to use it, there's no point to it being there. Do you want it gone or not? Of course I do. What do you want in exchange? Why do this now? Nothing. I want nothing from you. As for why now, it's not important. It's important to me. You aren't altruistic, you don't just do things for people out of the goodness of your heart. I'm losing my patience with you, Anko-chan. Do you want the seal removed or do you not? I do. Good. Now, try not to scream too loudly. Orochimaru said before she blurred in front of Anko. The next thing Anko knew, she was indeed screaming quite loudly until she blacked out from the pain. Orochimaru caught her first apprentice with a frown on her face, hoping Anko would be able to handle the effects of removing the seal. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.